Hello. The day everything fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I was working from home, something I rarely did, while Ashley was supposedly at a client meeting. Around 2 p.m., I heard our garage door open. Strange, since Ashley's meetings usually ran until evening. I figured she might have forgotten something important. The sounds that followed made my blood run cold. Giggling, hushed voices, the distinct sound of heels on our hardwood floors. I sat frozen at my desk in the home office, door slightly ajar, as Ashley and a male voice passed by. My heart hammered in my chest as their footsteps headed upstairs to our bedroom. I wish I could say I was shocked, but deep down, a part of me had suspected something for months. The late meetings, the sudden business trips, the new lingerie I never saw. Still, nothing prepares you for hearing your wife's moans of pleasure coming from your own bedroom, accompanied by a stranger's grunts. With trembling hands, I took out my phone and started recording audio. Not for evidence, I didn't care about that. This was to remind myself later that this wasn't just a nightmare. I crept up the stairs, each step feeling like a mile. Our bedroom door was partially open, and there they were, reflected in the full-length mirror across from our bed. Ashley, the woman I'd loved for a decade, straddling a man I recognized as Michael, her client from the tech startup she'd been working with for the past few months. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. But I didn't yell, didn't burst in. Instead, I calmly walked into the room, phone still recording. "Don't let me interrupt," I said, my voice eerily steady. They scrambled apart, Ashley screaming, Michael falling off the bed in a tangle of sheets. "James! Oh God, James, this isn't—" "I can explain." Ashley grabbed at the sheets, her face a mask of horror. Michael was frantically gathering his clothes, looking like he might be sick. I laughed, a hollow sound that scared even me. "Save it, Ashley. I don't need explanations." I walked to our closet, pulled out her favorite designer dresses, the ones I'd bought her for our anniversaries and birthdays, and started ripping them apart, methodically, one by one. Ashley was crying, begging me to stop, to listen to her, but I kept going until there was nothing left but shreds of expensive fabric. "You have exactly 1 hour to pack whatever's left and get out," I told her, my voice ice cold. "After that, I'm changing the locks and calling your parents to tell them exactly why their perfect daughter is about to need a place to stay." Michael had managed to get his pants on and was trying to slink past me. I grabbed his arm hard enough to make him wince. "And you," I said, "you can expect a call from your wife tonight. I have her number from the company directory on Ashley's laptop. I'm sure she'll be very interested in how you spend your afternoon meetings." Ashley's desperate pleading turned to anger when I started methodically deleting her access to our shared accounts. "You can't do this to me," she shrieked, still clutching the bedsheet around herself. "Everything I've built, my business contacts, my clients, they're all in those accounts. Should have thought about that before fucking your client in our bed," I replied, fingers flying across my laptop keyboard. 8 years of marriage, and I'd never seen her face contort with such fury. The mask of the perfect, loving wife had completely shattered. Michael had finally gathered his clothes and was edging toward the door. "This is between you two," he muttered. "I'm just gonna—" "You're not going anywhere." I cut him off, pulling out my phone. "Ashley, remember that business dinner last month? The one where you insisted on taking photos for your professional portfolio?" I pulled up Instagram, where Ashley had proudly posted pictures of her successful client meeting. There she was, sitting too close to Michael, his hand barely visible on her thigh under the table. I'd noticed it then but convinced myself I was being paranoid. "Those photos are going to your wife, Michael, along with today's audio recording. I wonder how that prenup of yours handles infidelity? Ashley mentioned once that you come from old money." Michael's face went from red to pale in seconds. "Listen, man, we can work something out. I'll give you whatever you want." His voice cracked with desperation. I laughed again, that same hollow sound. "What I want is for my wife of 8 years to not be fucking someone else in my bed. Can you give me that?" While they both stood there, shell-shocked, I continued my systematic dismantling of our shared life. I transferred half of our joint accounts to a new account in my name. I may have been angry, but I wasn't stupid enough to take everything and risk legal complications. I watched Ashley's face as she received notification after notification on her phone, her perfectly manicured fingers trembling as she scrolled. "James, please." She tried again, her voice softer now. "Think about what you're throwing away. 8 years, our home, our plans." She stepped toward me, letting the sheet slip suggestively. It was a move I'd seen her use countless times when she wanted something. Now it just made me sick. "You threw it away, Ashley. I'm just cleaning up the mess." I turned to Michael, who was still frozen by the door. "You have about 40 minutes left to get out of my house before I start making calls." Tick-tock. That's when Ashley's facade completely cracked. "You fucking bastard!" she screamed, grabbing the nearest object, a framed photo of our wedding day, and hurling it at my head. I ducked and it shattered against the wall. "You think you can just erase me? Destroy everything I've worked for? I'll ruin you." "No, you won't," I said calmly, holding up my phone. "Because I've been recording this entire meltdown, and I don't think it'll play well in court when I file for divorce citing adultery and physical abuse. Now, would you like to continue threatening me? Or would you prefer to use your remaining 38 minutes to pack?" The next 30 minutes were a blur of activity and revelations. While Ashley frantically packed her designer clothes and jewelry, I discovered just how deep her deception went. Her laptop was still open on her desk, and her message notifications kept popping up. Michael wasn't the only one. There were messages from at least 2 other men, all clients, all married. "How long?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady as I scrolled through months of messages. "How many?" Ashley paused in her frenzied packing, a handful of expensive jewelry clutched in her perfectly manicured hands. For a moment, I saw a flicker of something like shame cross her face before it hardened into defiance. "Does it matter? You've already decided to destroy everything." "You're right. It doesn't matter anymore." I turned to Michael, who was still lingering awkwardly by the door, apparently torn between fleeing and trying to damage control. "Your wife Caroline is a pediatric surgeon, right? Works at Boston General?" Ashley mentioned her a few times. Always said what a sweet, trusting woman she is. Michael's face went ash gray. "Please, my kids. Should have thought about them before you fucked a married woman in her husband's bed," I said, hitting send on a carefully worded email to Caroline, complete with photo attachments and the audio recording. "Oh, and I've CC'd your company's HR department. Sexual relationships with clients, that's got to violate some policies, right?" Ashley whirled on Michael, her eyes blazing. "You promised me that account was locked in. You said there was no way I could lose it. And there it was." The real reason she'd chosen Michael. The pieces clicked into place. The sudden influx of new clients over the past few months, the contracts that seemed too good to be true. She'd been sleeping her way through her client list, securing deals and accounts through the oldest method in the book. "Get out," I told Michael, my voice deadly quiet. "If you're still here in 5 minutes, I start calling every contact in Ashley's phone and telling them exactly what kind of business meetings you two have been having." He fled, leaving a lingering scent of expensive cologne and shame. Ashley stood in the middle of our bedroom. No, my bedroom now, surrounded by half-packed bags and the wreckage of our marriage. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears, but her eyes were cold and calculating. "You know this isn't over," she said, trying to sound threatening despite her trembling voice. "I'll get the best lawyer in Boston. I'll take everything." I held up my phone, showing her the screen. "You mean like how you took everything from our savings account last week? Transferred it to your private account?" Her eyes widened in shock. "Yeah, I saw that. Already sent the documentation to my lawyer. Along with these lovely text messages about how you were planning to leave once you'd secured enough clients through your special meetings." The color drained from her face. "How did you find out?" "I didn't until just now. But thanks for confirming it." I watched her process the realization that she'd just admitted to financial fraud. "Here's what's going to happen, Ashley. You're going to take your bags and leave. You're going to sign whatever divorce papers my lawyer sends you. And you're going to do it quietly, unless you want every client in your contact list to receive a very detailed email about your unique approach to customer service. The next few hours were a hurricane of emotions and revelations. While Ashley was still processing her situation, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Turned out Caroline, Michael's wife, was quite efficient at spreading news. The carefully crafted facade of Ashley's professional life was crumbling in real time. My reputation, everything I've built. Ashley sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at her phone as message after message poured in.
Client canceling contract.
Friends expressing their disgust. Her carefully curated social circle imploding with each notification. I felt a strange sense of calm as I watched her world collapse. Funny how quickly things fall apart when they're built on lies, I said, continuing to gather her belongings. Like how you told everyone at the Christmas party that you landed the Robertson account through your innovative marketing strategy. Was that what you called sleeping with David Robertson too? Her head snapped up, eyes wide with shock. How did you? I didn't. But thanks for confirming another one. I tossed her favorite Gucci handbag onto the growing pile of her belongings. You know what the worst part is, Ashley? I actually defended you when people warned me about your past. When your old college roommate tried to tell me about your history of sleeping with married men, I called her a liar. When your former boss hinted at why you really left your last job, I chose to believe your version. They were jealous, she spat, but her voice wavered. They couldn't handle my success. Your success. I laughed bitterly. You mean the success you built by destroying other people's marriages? By the way, I just got a very interesting call from Thomas Wade's wife. Remember him? Your first big client. I watched her face pale. She had quite a story about how you really landed that account 3 years ago. Apparently, Thomas confessed everything to her last year during their divorce. Ashley's hands started shaking. You're bluffing. There's no way. Oh, but I am. Because I just got off the phone with my lawyer. Turns out, when you build a business through sexual exploitation and fraud, it leaves quite a paper trail. Those NDAs you had your lovers sign? They protect you from them talking, but not from their wives coming forward. The sound of more notifications made her jump. Her phone screen was lighting up with messages from her parents. I smiled grimly. I guess they got my email about their daughter's unique business model, including the photos Michael's wife just sent over. You really should have been more careful about leaving a digital trail. Ashley surged to her feet, mascara streaking down her face. You've ruined everything, she screamed, launching herself at me with outstretched hands. I caught her wrists easily, holding her at arm's length as she tried to claw at my face.
No, Ashley.
You ruined everything. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. I released her wrists and stepped back. By the way, I've already called the police. They should be here any minute to document the attempted assault. I think that'll help speed up the divorce proceedings. Don't you? As if on cue, we heard sirens in the distance. Ashley's face contorted with a mixture of rage and fear. She grabbed her bags with trembling hands, mascara-stained tears streaming down her face. This isn't over, she hissed, but her voice lacked conviction. Actually, it is, I replied, holding up my phone to show her the screen. Because while you were having your meltdown, I was recording everything. Again. And this time, I caught your admission about the financial fraud, the NDAs, and your assault attempt. Game over, Ashley. The police arrived just as Ashley was making her final desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of her life. Through tears and smeared makeup, she tried to spin a story about emotional abuse and financial control. But the officers had already seen the video evidence of her assault attempt and heard the recordings of her earlier admissions. While they took statements, Ashley's phone kept lighting up with notifications. Caroline, Michael's wife, had apparently been busy. Not content with just informing their social circle, she'd reached out to the wives of Ashley's other clients. A network of betrayed women was forming, and they were all comparing notes. Mrs. Thompson, one of the officers said, reviewing the information on his tablet, We've received some concerning reports about potential business fraud and extortion involving your consulting firm. Several individuals have come forward with allegations. Ashley's face, already pale, turned almost gray. Her carefully constructed world wasn't just crumbling. It was being systematically dismantled. All those careful plans, the hidden accounts, the NDAs she'd used to silence her lovers, everything was unraveling in real time. "I want my lawyer," she whispered, but her usual confidence was gone. The mask had completely shattered, revealing the desperate, cornered person beneath. I watched from the doorway as she was escorted to the police car for further questioning. Her expensive designer outfit, usually so perfectly put together, was wrinkled and tear-stained. The neighbors were watching from their windows and porches, recording everything on their phones. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know the truth about perfect, successful Ashley Thompson. As the police car pulled away, I received a text from Caroline. "The other wives and I are filing a class action lawsuit against her firm for fraud and extortion. Thought you'd want to know. Thank you for exposing the truth." I looked around what had been our home, now stripped of Ashley's presence. Her half-packed bags still lay scattered around, designer clothes spilling out like the remnants of a life built on lies. On the nightstand, her wedding ring glinted mockingly. She'd thrown it at me during one of her rage-filled outbursts. The divorce papers would be filed first thing tomorrow morning. My lawyer was already preparing a case that would ensure Ashley couldn't touch a penny of our assets. The evidence of her financial fraud, combined with the documented adultery and assault, meant she wouldn't be getting anything in the settlement. But her real punishment wasn't the divorce or the financial ruin. It was the complete destruction of the carefully crafted image she'd built. Her business was imploding as clients fled and lawsuits piled up. Her social circle, once so envious of her success, now recoiled from her in disgust. Her own parents had disowned her after learning the full extent of her deceptions. The last message I sent her was simple. "The house security codes have been changed. Your things will be moved to storage. Don't come back." Then I blocked her number and poured myself a drink, listening to the blessed silence of a home free from lies. Thank you for listening the story to the end. Write your thoughts about it in the comments and do not forget to subscribe. See you in the next videos. Bye.